Hello everyone, my name is Dorian and welcome to another track guide with the LMP2. We are at Watkins Glen. Classic boot, fantastic track. I really enjoyed my time driving around here today. Using the Craig setup shop, I've managed to squeeze a 31.224 out of it with race fuel. My best qualifying lap is a 30, almost flat. I'm actually going to put the qualifying lap at the end of this video if you guys want to check that out. But the actual guide will be on the 31.224 I've done with race fuel. The track conditions are as follows. You got 75% on the track pretty much. 29C, that's actually pretty chill. It could get up to like 32 here, 33. So, you know, take this lap time with a grain of salt. If you guys are on 32 degrees, it could be a few tenths slower than that. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It really motivates me to keep making these. And yeah, let's get on the track. Okay then, so we're coming up to turn number 1, and what I want to demonstrate here is how important the braking point is. The 200 is your friend, and you want to brake just before it if you want to nail the exit here. Now you can brake a little bit later than where I started here and still make it through the corner, but I'm putting a lot of emphasis on the exit because you got so much of flat out driving right after the apex here. You basically have no point where you're lifting for the next 15 seconds or so. So keep that in mind, really focus on the exit here. I'm braking right at the 200, around 80-90%. And I'm gonna start turning the wheel after the 100 ever so slightly. My goal here is just to set up the car, to use this camber, this really sunken part of the road. And after that, when I hit second gear, I'm still downshifting from fifth. After I hit second gear, right around this point, I'm gonna start turning in hard. The idea is to keep this apex as late as possible without losing the camber on the road, and not to touch the top curb here. So we got basically two curbs. Let's divide those. So you got the black line separating them, and this curb is flat and easy. This curb will make the car bounce and will pop it out and basically make it understeer, and you don't want that. You're gonna lose time on the exit. I'm gonna go over it very smoothly. Lots and lots of input as I hit it. I'm probing for the grip. I'm giving it 70, 90, 80% throttle, and I'm straightening out the wheel, letting go to the outside. Not too much though. A lot of people like to really abuse it. No point. You don't want to have such a long route. And I'm looking for the exit. I'm trying to be subtle with the wheel. I don't want to make any sudden movements because I'm focusing on carrying the speed. Yeah, I'm clipping the grass here just a tiny bit. And let's look at this corner from the outside, just so you guys can get a reference of how much curb I'm actually getting here. Okay, so I'm gonna go over it slowly, brake right before the 2, start turning right after the 100, but very slowly. Looking for the curb on the inside, turning in hard, and letting go to the outside with a lot of throttle. You want to be as early as you can without losing the back end. That was pretty much as good as I can take this corner. clipping the grass a little bit, and we're gonna quickly go over to the next part of the course. Very simple stuff here. Just try to not to lean on the tires too much. Nothing real serious that you need to know here. And we're gonna end up here with a very important braking point right before this little pole here. And let's look at it from the cockpit view for a second. Right before it is where you want to brake. I'm gonna start braking right about now. And as soon as I start braking, I'm already starting to downshift very quickly because you break the speed so fast. You want to quickly downshift into fourth. I'm already gonna start turning the wheel. So as soon as I pass it, you can see that as soon as I pass it, I'm starting to turn the wheel because I want to go into this corner early. There's camber in the road, again, very important to use it. So I'm looking for it immediately. Fifth, fourth, and now I'm starting to hug the inside, keeping the car pretty much neutral, just a little bit of trail braking. Make sure all the weight that I can is on the front without losing too much speed. I'm going around 215 here. And as soon as I feel like the traction's there, I'm just gonna hammer the throttle pretty abruptly, around 40%, looking for it. I backed off because I'm looking for the point where the car stops understeering. So this little area here is maximum grip, and I'm feeling it, and I'm going back to it, letting the car go to the outside. You can use this curb. In fact, if you're doing this corner correctly, you're gonna have to use this curb. But this part here, there's a big dip. You can cause floor damage very easily. So any more than this, I do not recommend. You can use a little bit more, but try not to. If you have your left wheel around here and you can make it out in time, you're gonna have a lot of damage to the car. So keep that in mind. Don't try to abuse that curb too much. Now this corner is very interesting because you downshift, and it's very similar to the one we just did, but it's a little bit slower and a little bit steeper and, you know, sharper. So let's look at it from the inside. Very slowly, I'm looking for the braking point at this moment, and as you can see, the tarmac kind of changes colors here, different surfaces, and there's a little bump there. So what you want to do, you want to make sure you brake well before the color change. Now I got no real indication here on when I need to brake, but I'm always making sure I start my braking, or my hardest part of the braking, right before it. Because if you brake hard right when you go over it, it's gonna make the car bounce. It's gonna upset it somehow. So you can really feel it here. You don't really feel it with GTEs, but with this car, it's very noticeable. So I'm slamming the brakes right as I reach it into third. Staying in third, we want a late second gear here. Staying in third, trail braking, hugging the inside where all the rubber is. And at some point, I'm just gonna downshift into second and go back to the throttle. There is a lot of grip on the inside. If you stay on the inside throughout this corner, you're gonna have a much better exit. Let's look at it from the outside for a sec. So I'm braking right before, starting to let off the brake, fourth, third, and at some point I'm there you go. Right at this point, I was putting it in second, and I'm hugging the inside. I'm not letting go. Keep turning, hammer the throttle, and the car will just exit the corner as it should, really. Now, this is a very late braking point. You see, you got the 200 here. That's sort of your indication when you should prepare for braking. But I'm gonna brake after, right at the 120, 130, 140. This sort of area. Right now is when I start braking. The reason for that is basically because you're going uphill, so you can brake very late. So there's no worries about, you know, understeering through this corner. It cambers and it's uphill, so the car is having a real easy time to make it through there. Let's look at it from the cockpit view. Let's look for the braking point. So we're still after the 200, still full throttle, and I'm gonna start letting off right now. Definitely don't want to reach the 100, that's way too late, but around the 150, 140, that's a safe spot to brake here. Go over slowly. I'm not gonna turn in too early. This is sort of my indication, my line, so to speak. You can turn it a little bit earlier than that, but you don't have to. It's so much easier to carry the speed from the outside to the inside and look for the apex that's right around here. I'm already back on the throttle. I'm doing a lot of maintenance throttle through this corner, trying to keep the car stable and maintain speed. I'm not trying to accelerate too much. And as I surpass the apex, then I'm gonna floor it and look for the exit using all of the track. You want to go over the white line. If you're doing this corner correctly, you're gonna go over the white line. You won't have much of a choice. Just don't put your rear wheel on the grass. It's an instant spin. Let's look at it from the outside just for a second. Keeping it wide on the entry. And now I'm gonna start looking for the apex. You can see my wheels turning. I'm trail braking. And I'm doing maintenance throttle because I got so much grip. I can afford to maintain the speed and start accelerating out of it even a little bit before the apex. But after the apex, that's when you know you're very safe to kind of hammer it. Okay, so this is a very tricky corner. You have to slow the car down so much. I'm already doing 250 here, and I'm gonna have to start braking very soon, right at the 200 or slightly after it if you're feeling brave and the track conditions are good. On 32C, I would recommend to brake right at the 200 there. Now, very hard braking, 90%, 80%, however much this is. And I'm gonna start turning very slowly right after the 100. I'm not gonna turn in early though. I'm looking for the late apex here. And I'm trying to follow this line sort of. But don't be too wide because all the grip is on the inside. We're looking for it, there it is right here. And look at how close my wheel is. You want to be as close as possible without touching it. I'm not sure I have. No, I have not. Yeah, so this is the apex. This is as close as you can get here. And this is going to ensure you get a good exit and you can carry a lot of speed here. That's why I was braking so hard. If you miss this apex, you're going to have a really hard time exiting this corner. And even though there's not a big straight after this corner, it's still like you can lose a lot of time. It's amazing how much time you can lose on the exit here by not hitting that apex. Carrying the speed all the way to the outside. And now I'm setting myself up to a very late braking point that doesn't have a marker. So this is all about bravery. I'm carrying quite a bit of speed. I'm going 200, but I'm still braking quite late. As you can see, I'm starting to brake right around here. Now, you don't want to brake too late. You can actually brake later than this, but the problem is you're risking not turning in early enough. So you want to turn in kind of early here. Even though it's a very wide corner, I'm looking for the apex on the inside here. These are all imaginary apexes, if you haven't noticed. It's not super obvious where the apex is until you kind of do a few laps and get the hang of it. But I'm hugging the inside, and I'm starting from the middle, hugging the inside and staying on the inside, all in second gear, looking for that sweet point where I can mash the throttle. I'm doing some maintenance throttle to keep the back end in check. The throttle I've been doing throughout this corner is purely to make sure the back end doesn't kick out. Don't have downforce here. You're going very slowly. 120 for this car is not fast, so you don't have a lot of downforce. You're giving the throttle just to keep the back end in check. That's also the reason why I'm not going all the way down to first, even though first goes almost to like 140 here. So technically you can accelerate faster out of this corner, but the second gear here is really vital for me to keep the back end in check. Looking for that sweet spot where I'm flooring it right after the tarmac changes colors, using all of the track on the outside and slowly going back to a straight line. And we're gonna go over to this corner. Now, it's really important to use all of the track here. As you can see, tarmac kind of opens up, and I'm gonna go over it very slowly. As you can see, I'm correcting to the right, using as much as I can without getting on the grass. Very important not to. You can spin the car. And I'm gonna lift, like a big lift, but very, very short period of time. I'm not gonna lift throughout the corner. I'm gonna try to go back to the throttle as early as I can. As you can see, the first lift was a little too early. So I said, all right, you know what? I'm gonna lift again. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go through this corner. So I lift, back to the throttle, lift again, and back to the throttle again. Wasn't the optimal way to do this. Definitely, you want to only lift once. That means lift a little bit later than what I have. But you know, it takes a lot of guts to lift late here, so because you're always worried about hitting that curb too hard. If you hit this curb too hard, it's can really upset the car. Now you have to hit it, but it's a matter of how much. And this is definitely okay. A little bit more than that, it's gonna kick you out to the grass, and it's gonna be very difficult to get the car to return to the track from that point. It can very easily spin and end up in this wall. I've done that several times. Let's look at it from the outside. Let's look at the entire line. Kind of annoying. Using all of the track, almost clipping the grass here. Lifting early, should have lifted right now. This is the apex. Right around here is your apex. I might have been a little too early into the corner, but it still made it through fine. You can lose and gain huge amounts of time on this corner. The best way to do it will give you 2/10 off probably your worst. So there's not gonna be like a huge difference, but in terms of safety, you want to have slightly earlier lift just to go through this corner. Not a lot of speed I could gain here, even though it's not technically correct. All right, so let's go over the final corner. Very tricky, actually. You want to have a late downshift here. Not sure where my braking point here at all is. So I'm braking very early, it seems. My guess is this guy is sort of your indication to when to start braking, but don't reach and then start braking. I think that will be way too late. I like to brake early here and maintain my speed in fourth. See, now I'm only downshifting. So downshift into third, and I'm trying to go back to the throttle as soon as possible because there's, you know, it's a decent sized straight after this. There's a lot of speed to be carried. There's a big curb on the outside here that you want to hit. So I'm trying to carry as much speed in fourth, third, and I'm gonna full throttle before the apex because I got all this camber that I can use, and I'm gonna use it to keep the car in check. Use the curb on the outside. You can use more of this curb. It actually won't upset the car that much. You can use a lot of it. Look at it from the outside just for a sec. Into third, hugging the inside, flooring it, using the curb on the outside. More speed to gain here, but not that much, I think. I think it was pretty decent. And that will be a lap of 31.224. All right, so we got the qualifying lap coming up, but that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, all those good things. Let me know in the comments what you'd like me to do better. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.